China was collapsing, and the West was carving it apart piece by piece. In the middle of the chaos stood one man, a doctor, a martial arts master, and the last person willing to fight for his people. But fists and honor meant nothing anymore. Foreign guns ruled the streets. Human traffickers were kidnapping civilians in broad daylight. Corrupt officials protected criminals instead of stopping them. And when Wong Fei-hung tried to resist, he became the enemy. Now hunted by both gangs and the government, Wong must battle assassins, traitors, and an empire falling apart before everything he loves is erased forever. Before we go into the recap, if you enjoy intense martial arts stories like this, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next. The story opens in Foshan with a vibrant traditional lion dance performed on a boat. Wong Fei-hung, a doctor and renowned martial artist, sits in the VIP section, watching the performance with admiration. But the joy is abruptly shattered when a nearby French sailor mistakes the firecrackers for an attack and opens fire. Chaos erupts, and one of the dancers is injured in the confusion. Realizing his mistake, the sailor orders his men to cease fire. Wong rises from his seat and urges the drummers to continue. He steps into the lion costume, completing the performance despite the chaos. Through binoculars, more foreign ships are spotted approaching. Liu Yongfu, commander of the Black Flag Army who had invited Wong aboard to witness the celebration, notices the unsettling sight and draws Wong's attention to it. The festive mood quickly gives way to concern. Liu laments to Wong on how China is being divided and weakened by foreign powers, and reveals that he has been sent to Vietnam to fight the French. His doubts deepen when he looks at a plaque on his ship that reads, "Our land, our people." Questioning how the Vietnamese might perceive it, he orders one of his men to take it down. Wong quickly intervenes, urging him to be patient. He reminds Liu that political tides shift quickly and that such conflicts may not last forever. He reassures him that he could be called back home sooner than expected. But Liu is disheartened. He explains that his forces have already been reduced, and even the remaining soldiers are soon to be dismissed. Liu asks Wong to train them, to prepare them for the day they may be needed again to defend their homeland. The soldiers submit themselves to Wong's guidance. Wong accepts the responsibility, promising to do his best while expressing hope that Liu will return safely. As a parting gift, Liu hands Wong a fan inscribed with the unequal treaties imposed on China by foreign powers. He expresses his hope that by the time he returns, those injustices will be erased. Wong begins training the remaining members of the Black Flag Army, showcasing disciplined and skillful martial arts techniques. Meanwhile, on the busy streets of Foshan, the tension between locals and foreigners becomes more evident. Slave traders move through the streets with captured people, while a group of Christian foreigners walk by, singing loudly as they carry out their activities. In response, Chinese musicians begin to play their instruments, attempting to drown out the foreign hymns. Inside a bar, the atmosphere is filled with chatter and laughter. Some businessmen openly discuss how foreign presence has actually benefited their trade. Wong enters the bar and is warmly welcomed. He meets with his grand-uncle who introduces him to Xiao Quan, the daughter of his grandfather's sworn brother. Though she appears to be around his age, tradition demands that he address her as Aunt 13, as she holds a higher generational rank. Wong is visibly surprised when he realizes who she is, especially given her foreign-style clothing and modern demeanor. She extends her hand for a handshake, a foreign gesture unfamiliar to him. Those around quickly explain that it is how Westerners greet each other. She then introduces her friend, Joanna. Wong finds their mannerisms and communication both fascinating and confusing. Wong is asked to take a photograph with Grand-Uncle. As he sits to pose, he realizes this is not the kind of camera he is used to. When the device suddenly emits a burst of smoke, Wong is startled and instinctively pushes Grand-Uncle's chair out of harm's way. In the chaos, the caged bird meant to be part of the photograph catches fire. As Wong tries to put out the flames, Aunt 13's friend rushes to help, only to accidentally spill boiling water on the floor. Wong quickly checks on Aunt 13 to see if she's hurt. Luckily for her, she's not. Before leaving, Grand-Uncle informs Wong that he will be traveling to England and entrusts him with the responsibility of looking after Aunt 13. At Wong's traditional medicine clinic, Po Chi Lam, Bucktooth, one of Wong's disciples, is busy trying to treat his aching knee when a man walks in asking for Wong. Mistaking Bucktooth for the master, the man eagerly asks him to train him. Bucktooth tries to explain that he is not Wong, but his stuttering only confuses the situation further. The man eventually pieces it together and walks out. Leung Foon, an aspiring actor, arrives in Foshan with an opera troupe to stage performances. While repairing the roof of their performance tent, he notices Aunt 13 amongst a group of women setting up a camera. He is surprised to find someone as polished and refined as her speaking Chinese so fluently. He becomes instantly intrigued by her. Distracted, Foon loses his footing and crashes down from the roof, landing directly onto Aunt 13's camera and tripod. To make matters worse, the substance he was using to patch the roof spills all over her, while the bucket falls onto his own head, covering his face. Later, while dressing behind a curtain, Foon steals glances at Aunt 13. She catches him in the act, prompting him to quickly look away. As she leaves the tent, Foon follows her from a distance. When he finally catches her attention, she simply smiles before riding off on her bicycle. A sudden shootout starts in the marketplace, sending civilians into a panic. In the aftermath, an injured man is rushed to Wong's clinic for treatment. At the clinic, Wong's 3 apprentices, Porky Wing, Bucktooth So, and Kai, try to help their master. Wong reflects on the worsening state of the country, lamenting how dangerous life has become. Wing blames the Manchurians for collaborating with foreign powers and selling out China. Driven by righteous anger, Wing begins to agitate for a revolution before it's too late. His outburst is abruptly interrupted when Bucktooth pours water on him, telling him to calm down before things spiral out of control. Recognizing how volatile the situation is becoming, Wong orders Wing to stay out of the matter, warning him that he is too hot-headed. He promises to handle things properly through official channels. Wong and Bucktooth head to a restaurant to meet the governor, Mr. Johnson of the Sino-Pacific Corporation, and General Wickens of the British forces. They intend to address the rising tensions. Meanwhile, Foon continues to struggle with his role in the opera troupe, stuck doing menial tasks instead of learning acting. This time, he is sent out to distribute tickets. His boss explains that he wouldn't be assigned such chores if the other boys hadn't left for America in search of gold. Curious, Foon presses for more information, and his boss tells him to check the newspapers. Before he can do so, trouble arrives. The Shaho gang, infamous for terrorizing local businesses, shows up to collect protection money. Instead of helping, Foon's boss locks him outside, declaring that it's time for him to prove his kung fu skills. The Shaho men corner Foon and attempt to cut off his hand as punishment. But Foon fights back, and the situation escalates into a chaotic chase. Outnumbered and overwhelmed, he runs through the streets desperately trying to escape. The commotion draws a crowd, and Wing, who happens to be among them, intervenes on Foon's behalf. Wing calls on his fellow militia to step in and defend Foon. The Shaho men hesitate when they realize Wing is one of Wong's disciples. They back off, but not before issuing a warning that Foon must still bring them his hand. Emboldened by his newfound support, Foon throws a slab of pork at them, refusing their demand. The insult reignites the conflict, a brutal clash that leaves the streets in shambles. Back at the restaurant, Wong's meeting takes a turn for the worse, as the governor, instead of addressing Wong's concerns, criticizes him for interfering with a fair relationship between China and foreign powers. He even brings up Wong's connection to Liu Yongfu and threatens to make an example of him. Their tense discussion is suddenly interrupted as the fight between the Shaho gang and the militia spills into the restaurant. Both sides continue their brawl without restraint, forcing Wong to step in and try to restore order. An enraged General Wickens storms out, demanding that the governor provide a satisfactory explanation for the disturbance. Meanwhile, Mr. Johnson's right-hand man, Tiger, launches an attack on Bucktooth. Wong quickly intervenes, effortlessly deflecting Tiger's moves and protecting his disciple. Johnson warns Wong that there will be consequences if he does not stand down. Just then, the armed authorities arrive, causing the Shaho men to flee for fear of being arrested. Wong attempts to explain the situation to the governor, but his words fall on deaf ears. Instead, the governor orders the immediate disbandment of the local militia and commands his men to arrest them. Feeling concerned, Ant 13 urges Wong to embrace the changes brought by Western influence. She warns him that resisting change could leave him behind in a rapidly evolving world. Determined to seek justice, Wong later confronts the leader of the Shaho gang. A fierce and intense fight breaks out, showcasing Wong's superior skill. He ultimately defeats the gang leader and calls on the surrounding crowd to act as witnesses so he can bring the man to justice at the city hall. Because the people are afraid of a backlash, no one steps forward. Without any witnesses willing to testify, the Shaho leader is released without consequence. Meanwhile, the members of the local militia remain imprisoned, their fate uncertain until someone can speak on their behalf. Realizing they have only one option, Wing suggests they find Foon, the one person who saw everything and might be willing to stand as their witness. The promise of wealth and a better life is used to lure many Chinese citizens to America, disguising a much darker reality beneath the surface. Back in Fashion, the Shaho gang decides to retaliate against Wong by setting fire to Po Chi Lam. The governor arrives and, as expected, blames Wong for everything. Just as the situation seems hopeless, an unexpected ally steps forward, a Jesuit priest. He boldly claims to know who is responsible for the arson and offers to testify on Wong's behalf. When he identifies the Shaho gang as the culprits, they are forced to flee. They take refuge with a human trafficker named Jackson. In exchange for protection from foreign authorities, the Shaho gang agrees to assist Jackson in running his underground human trafficking operation. Their role is to abduct Chinese women, who are then shipped off to America and forced into prostitution. Seeing Wong as a major threat to their operations, the gang leader asks Jackson to eliminate him. Jackson devises a plan to lure Wong to a public show, create chaos, and assassinate him in the process. He stages a theatrical show and invites Wong and the governor. Midway through, assassins emerge, targeting Wong and the governor. Panic spreads as foreign soldiers begin firing into the crowd. Wong immediately steps in, trying to protect innocent lives. With the help of Wing, he fights back, skillfully taking down one assassin after another. In the chaos, Tiger attempts to shoot Wong, but he shoots the Jesuit priest instead. Jackson and Tiger seize the opportunity to escape. At the scene, they find a flag praising the local militia and calling for resistance against foreigners, a clear setup to frame Wong and his allies. Despite Wong's efforts to explain, the governor refuses to listen and orders his arrest. Wong requests to treat the wounded civilians first before turning himself in. Back at the clinic, while tending to the injured, Ant 13 notices a label bearing the name Jackson on one of the patients. The man turns out to be an escaped Chinese laborer from America. He recounts the horrors he and others endured, sold into forced labor, treated as expendable, and executed if they attempted to escape. Meanwhile, the exploitation continues openly, disguised as opportunity through public advertisements. Amidst this, a new figure emerges. Iron Vest Yim, a martial artist determined to make a name for himself. In a public display, he easily defeats a challenger, impressing onlookers, including Foon. Inspired, Foon asks Yim to take him as a disciple. Yim, hungry for recognition, asks who the best martial artist in the area is, someone worthy of elevating his reputation. Foon names Wong. Aware of the danger surrounding him, Wong prepares for the worst. He tells her not to wait for him, asking her to return home so he can face whatever comes without burden. That moment is interrupted when Yim storms into Po Chi Lam to challenge Wong. Wong offers him tea, explaining that he cannot fight while under house arrest. Yim interprets this as cowardice and attacks, forcing Wong into a brief confrontation. Not long after, the governor arrives with his men, ordering a search of the clinic for fugitives. Wong and his apprentices resist, engaging in a fight to buy time for Ant 13, Bucktooth, and the escaped laborer to get away. Once they are safe, Wong surrenders himself after he takes time to treat the injured soldiers. On the run, Ant 13 and the others encounter the Shaho gang. The laborer is killed while trying to defend her, and Ant 13 is captured. Bucktooth narrowly escapes. Ant 13 is taken to a hidden location where she is imprisoned alongside other women waiting to be sold. Wong and his apprentices are imprisoned, preventing him from appearing at a rematch with Yim. Yim aligns himself with the Shaho gang, despite Foon's disapproval. They offer him money to establish his own martial arts school, and he accepts. While imprisoned, some of the governor's soldiers quietly admit to Wong that they believe he has been framed and are willing to help him escape. Wong initially refuses, unwilling to flee while others suffer. But when Bucktooth arrives with news of Ant 13's capture, Wong has no choice but to oblige. Meanwhile, the Shaho gang leader attempts to assault Ant 13, but Foon arrives just in time to intervene. A fierce fight breaks out as Foon struggles to protect her and create an escape route. At the same time, Wong and his men infiltrate Jackson's compound disguised as women to avoid suspicion. Yim confronts Wong once again, demanding a proper fight. This time, Wong accepts, but instructs his apprentices to continue searching for Ant 13 while he handles Yim. Their clash is intense, showcasing Yim's brute strength against Wong's precision and discipline. Elsewhere, the governor, acting on reports of missing persons, leads his men to investigate Jackson's compound. They are met with gunfire, triggering a full-scale shootout. Wong ultimately defeats Yim and realizes that Yim has been cheating in fights. A small spearhead is tied to the tip of Yim's queue to give his strike extra lethality. Wong uses it to cut off Yim's queue as punishment for the deception. Foon and Bucktooth locate Ant 13, but are confronted by Tiger. Outmatched at first, they struggle to hold their ground until Foon's quick thinking and agility turn the tide in their favor. As Wong makes his way toward the ship used for trafficking, Jackson's guards open fire. He skillfully evades the barrage of bullets, but Yim, attempting to follow, is fatally shot. With his dying breath, Yim admits that martial arts don't stand a chance against guns. Foon manages to defeat Tiger and rescue Ant 13 and the abducted women. Inside the ship, the Shaho gang leader attempts one final act of cruelty by trying to disfigure Ant 13. But the captive women rise together, overpowering him and throwing him into the ship's furnace. Jackson takes the governor hostage at gunpoint. Wong and Foon attempt to use firearms, but they fail. Thinking quickly, Foon distracts Jackson, giving Wong an opening to flick a bullet with his fingers straight into Jackson's forehead, killing him instantly. The governor and the rescued women express their gratitude to Wong for saving them. In the aftermath, Wong, now dressed in Western attire, formally accepts Foon as his fourth apprentice. Together, they gather at Pochilam for a group photograph. As peace temporarily returns, Wong resumes training the local militia, preparing them for whatever challenges the future may bring. And just like that, after everything he lost, everything he fought through, Wong Fei-hung is still standing, ready to rebuild and prepare for whatever comes next. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon, because there are more legendary films like this coming soon. Stay tuned for the next part.